When we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast, episode 534. Tonight, I'm here with Alex of the Noticing Caucus. In fact, the chairman.
The chairman of the Noticing Caucus is the largest growing caucus within the Libertarian Party. Even non-libertarians, it's a lot of people are starting to notice. So if you want to join, hit me up.
And I'm also here with Kyle, the token minarchist.
Hey everybody! I'm happy to be here tonight. We're missing James Babb, who I normally
Babb
argue
might
with,
be rolling in here shortly, but I don't know. He might be MIA. He might be in some Walmart parking lot getting harassed by police, or
might have been arrested by a park ranger at a state park.
Right.
We don't know.
We'll see what happens. But I guess we're also missing Otto tonight because Otto thinks that watching the fucking NFL draft is more important than this podcast.
Very
Is that
sad.
what he's doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
He wants to. Yeah. I mean, look.
I don't think I've ever watched I've watched pieces of the draft, right? I've been at a sports bar and it's up there and I'm watching a little bit, but I've never sat down in my living room, turn on the draft, ordered wings, cracked open a six pack. I've never done that. I just don't care that much.
The snacks ready, got the beers, water, got the phone ready, got my updates.
It's so much waiting for your team's pick, and then it's and then you're watching the other 31 teams that you don't care about.
Right.
I don't know. It sounds boring. But
the other thing too is Jared and I were talking. It's don't the commies draft they're drafting later? You could do the show and still watch it live if you really wanted to, or dip out for a minute.
They were a playoff team, right?
Yeah,
they were a playoff team, so they shouldn't have a top pick.
Yeah, I mean, unless they trade it up, but I don't know.
So come on, Otto, come on, man. That's pathetic. Anyway, so we were talking about this. Remember this skit by Bill Burr? I mean, he's a total leftist now. He's a kind of token lefty now, but this was hilarious from years ago. This was hilarious. That's
the same way I look at people laugh who got upset about Michael Sam, the gay football player, kissing his boyfriend when he got drafted. Everybody bitch moaning and complaining. It's dude, you know what? That's what you get for watching the draft. All right. Once again, what kind of a fucking loser just sits there watching round after round? The Jets are up next. I think they need a cornerback. And they need to improve the defensive line. Dude, that's like going to a graduation ceremony where you don't know anybody who's graduating. It's just fucking sitting there.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to have the whole list the next day. They'll have everybody who drafted, who, when. Fucking got to sit there and watch that shit. Those stupid interviews. Hey, you're a member of the Buffalo Bills. How does it feel?
Well, it's a blessing. I want to thank God. Going to try to do my best. It's a great organization. And same shit the last 80 guys said. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad he kissed him. He should have fucking blown him. Yeah. With birthday cake in his mouth and a Santa Claus hat on his head. Just to ruin the entire year. Holding a flag. That fucks up Flag Day. You'll keep thinking about it. Yeah.
Anyways, for those that don't remember that Michael Sam, and he was totally. It was they're passing over him because he was the first openly gay football player, and he was trash. He barely even made a season. I think he was cut in year 2.
Yeah, whatever happened
was
to that dude.
Yeah, he wasn't good. He had one good year in college.
He was a DEI hire.
Yeah. He's openly gay black man. We got to draft him. And he's like, do you really? And it was I think it was the Cowboys in round 7. We're like, all right, it's
time.
Cowboy move. But yeah, everybody was upset. When he got drafted, he was making out with his boyfriend.
Well, it's interesting. All three of us criticize, and Bill Burr criticized the stupidity of sort of sports ball, and yet we're all also fans, right? We're all fans, and we play fantasy football, and we do all the dumb shit that Bill Burr criticizes.
Very true. But he's also
but at least that stuff's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I was saying before the show, like I've only got room for so much football knowledge in my head, or so much bandwidth to like be like consuming this content, and it's like I'm not gonna like I don't understand. So like in order to understand what's going on in the draft, you have to understand what's going on in college football, right? Or at least have like watched enough like draft preview, like mock draft bullshit to like understand.
Dude, people do that, man. Like people are like, here's a fantasy draft of like potentially how things could happen.
Yeah.
Like get the fuck out of here. Like what a waste of time.
And like dude, honestly, I don't know if I can name a single person that's in the draft. Like that's how out of touch I am, dude.
I could. It's a kind of escapism, I guess you could say, or distraction.
Yeah.
It is. But
true.
I don't know. I always kind of have my finger on the pulse of like almost all mainstream sports. I don't know why. I just sort of catch headlines. It's in my social media feed.
Do you just get that from social media, or do you have like a news source you check?
Yeah,
like you go on ESPN?
Yahoo Sports is my go-to. But I am more of an NHL fan than I've ever been this season. I've really been following the NHL a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I know I play a lot of hockey, but I've always sort of been a casual fan at best. And but it started to develop into a serious interest for me. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about instructional tips and do drills, and I'm tailoring my workouts to ice hockey. So it started to not take over my life or anything like that, but become, I've become more dedicated to it, I would say.
Yeah, you got a game tonight, right?
I have a game tonight. Yeah, 10 start time. So,
but I think the fact that you're playing hockey kind of gives you a little bit more credibility,
Hockeytism.
Yeah,
it's like you're not just a consumer; you're an active participant.
Yeah, participant, and I love about the sport that here I am. I'm 44, and I can still play this sport with my dad, who's 69 years old.
Damn, he's still out there.
Old guy. Yeah, he is. I mean,
that's awesome.
He wears like one of those protective helmets, the Guardian cap.
Oh
like
yeah.
Really? On top of like a helmet on top of a helmet.
Yeah,
I mean, it's smart.
Wear because he's he's on blood thinners, and concussion is potentially a problem, or head injury is very dangerous. So he wears that. But yeah, it's just great. It's great exercise. It's great competition. I'm able to like get some aggression out and compete, and then I have like a reason to train. I'm not just lifting weights for the sake of lifting weights. I have a sport that I actually compete in multiple times a week. So
yeah,
as a competitive sport for a middle-aged guy, like nobody plays tackle football in their 40s.
Baseball, baby.
Yeah, baseball lasts. Baseball has longevity. Soccer a little bit. I think
you gotta have good cardio for that shit, though.
Yeah, and it's harder on your knees and ankles, which the lower.
I mean, how good does your cardio have to be to play hockey? Because you can kind of get away with just like sliding around, right?
Kyle, is this your dad playing hockey? Is that his hockey helmet?
Yeah, it's not far. It's not far off. He definitely looks like he has the biggest. It's a weird kind of cardio because you're going hard and then for like a minute and a half and then you sit. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like the pacing of it is weird. And people that haven't played for a while or that don't really play hockey and they play hockey, ice hockey, they get very winded. It's like doing wind sprints and then sitting between,
It's nonstop. You're moving.
You are moving. Yeah. And it is exhausting. And then we're short, as we're often short skaters. We only have 8 guys tonight, which you're supposed to have 10 minimum. So it's going to be a lot of skating. And anyway, it's a great hobby. I really recommend ice hockey if anybody's thinking about getting into the sport.
All right, there you go.
Man,
all right, let's get into some.
Get into the docks. Where do you want to go?
Let's get into the docks here. So we've got this another presidential action. Let me share this here. So this is
another executive order. This was signed
February 4th, withdrawing the United States from and ending funding to certain United Nations organizations and reviewing United States support to all international organizations. So, like, from the jump here, That's kind of exciting, right? Like we're not big fans of the UN on this podcast.
Yeah, not at all. Bunch of globalists.
But then you read on, and it's all kind of just like centered around Israel shit.
It's all anti-Semitism gobbledygook.
It's about leaving the UNRWA for Palestine refugees in the Near East because it's been infiltrated by members of foreign terrorist organizations. And then you have UNESCO, which I think also helps out ostensibly with refugees and all that stuff. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Exactly. It's not about our sovereignty. It's not about getting out of an organization, entangling alliances, getting into. I mean, look at all these UN resolutions that have led to unconstitutional, illegal wars. It's not about decoupling ourselves and actually being a sovereign country. It's all about anti-Semitism. So it's like, yeah, it scrolls down here. It's before that section 2. What does it say? What is it? UNHRC has protected human rights abuses, allowing them to use organizations to shield themselves from scrutiny. While UNESCO has demonstrated failure to reform itself, has continually demonstrated anti-Israel sentiment over the past decades, and has failed to address concerns over mounting
arrears. Well, that's a nice word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
What does UNHRC stand for? Is it listed? Is it Human Rights Campaign? Is that what it
Human Rights Council?
Council. Yeah. So they're probably critical of Israel's killing civilians, right?
Yeah,
Most likely.
Kyle, October 7th, sir. Holocaust.
I know
October
that
7th, the Holocaust. October 7th, Holocaust.
I know
October
that
7th, Holocaust.
I know that was the start of the conflict, right? I know October 7th.
October 7th.
That was the start.
October 7th. Have you forgotten?
I know that was the start of the conflict, but like, yeah, this
Right.
goes way back, and I don't know. That part of the world is perpetually in conflict.
there you go. There's your October 7th.
Right. I even have it in there. Dude,
I mean, I like the idea of reviewing support to all international organizations, but I'm not optimistic that they're going to end anything that's like, oh, this is helping to bolster our military presence or helping to maintain empire.
I mean, how do you view the UN? Is it a government above the U.S. government, or is it more of a puppet of the U.S. government? Is it how much of the funding does the United States provide as a percentage of the total?
Let's look up the docs.
That I don't know.
I'd be
But
curious to see.
It does
that.
seem to be more of a puppet than like a controlling, puppet master.
I would say so. I mean, or maybe if anything, it's a collaboration between Europe and the United States, or the EU and the United States at this point. I think
Yeah.
if you take out the quote unquote Western nations, right? What's really left of it? I don't know. Maybe Russia and China. I don't know. It seems to me like more of a puppet, and I'd just be very curious to know like how much of their funding is just coming from the U.S. I mean, if you're the one funding it, doesn't that sort of make it be beholden to your will?
This is
Right.
now this. The United States currently provides 22% of the United Nations regular budget and 26.15% of the peacekeeping budget. This makes it the largest single contributor. Although the UN member states also contribute, the U.S. has a cap on its regular budget contributions, which was negotiated back in 2000, supposedly. This now, again, take it with a grain of salt. This is from the interwebs.
It's still a huge
About
percent.
28%.
And how many countries are in the UN?
28%.
All of them, basically, right?
Maybe
It's like
Except
all of them
maybe
except for like Palestine,
Somalia, or maybe
ones that they don't
Cuba.
acknowledge. Yeah.
yeah.
He said, "Did I miss Alex doing any Trump impressions?"
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. We're not there yet. You can read this. You can read this whole executive order in
Like-
Trump's voice.
Did you guys hear about the Harvard memo? Like, I guess
No, should we bring?
I did see something, a headline. Do we have this?
it was.
I don't think it's in.
I
The
saw a
doc.
headline that the headline was Trump says Harvard is a threat to democracy.
Yeah, they threatened to cut off. There was a memo from the White House where they threatened to cut off the funding to Harvard, and then there's been a lot of back and forth between Harvard and the White House, and then the White House has even backtracked somewhat to be like, "Oh, we didn't mean that" or something, but it was definitely an official memo. So these memos are going out from the White House, and people are reacting to them, and then there's some backtracking. It gives
Now,
the impression
is it because of
the
the protests, like the Palestinian protests?
Anti-Semitism.
It might have been the DEI policies, or it might have been, far left protesting. I thought it was DEI stuff, but I could be wrong. And I wasn't even aware. You wouldn't even think that Harvard would be receiving any money from the federal government, right? I would think that that's a wealthy blue blood institution, private institution that has tons of money. So why would they need grants from the federal government? But
That's not how it works, Kyle.
I
I
know.
mean, you're charging how much in tuition?
Right, that
Like
too. Jeez.
100,000 a year, probably at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just brought it up because you mentioned White House memo, and I wonder how much of these are, Trump gets an idea and they throw it out there. They're like throwing a memo out there based on his current point of rage,
So here's an article about the letter. In a letter on April 11th, the Trump administration outlined a list of critical reforms it wanted Harvard to make to keep $2.2 billion in grants.
Wow.
That's an insane amount of money.
Right?
2.2 billion. Wow.
Yeah. So
I mean, you're a private college, right? They're
Yeah.
a private college.
a
that
rich-
probably
a-
charge, like, what is Harvard's tuition? Let's look that up. Harvard tuition 2025.
It does does say that. Yeah. Go ahead.
$60,000 per year,
Yeah.
That's reasonable. I
which
feel
isn't like horrible compared to like other schools.
per year, not per semester. Because semester, that would be 120 for 2 semesters.
Yeah. It's a good question for a shot.
Full
2.2
tuition,
billion
full
for what?
tuition for a year, according to their website, is actually less than that.
Okay.
59,312. Oh, hold on, here we go. The tuition is 59,000, but the other stuff you end up paying like 87,000
Well, that
for
probably
like
doesn't.
for like food, boarding, student services, all this other shit. It comes out to like 87,000. So that seems more accurate.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, it's like you're plus you've got all these donors, which I think this article mentions, that they're now reliant on their billionaire donors to prop them up. And so it's like, yeah, why is the government funding a private institution in the first place?
Yeah, I mean there are plenty of public colleges that receive public funds and they're beholden to the governments that fund them, but as a private institution, you wouldn't think that they would be receiving that much. I mean, close to home, one that I can think of that gets a lot of money is Johns Hopkins.
Well, that's like Spook. That's like Spook Central, though. They're applied physics lab. I mean, they're basically a Department of Defense.
Yeah, it's probably all going
to
to like the STEM program and shit for building bombs or something.
Yeah, they're coming up.
But so here are the demands. Governance and leadership reforms. Merit-based hiring reform. So I guess this is like DEI shit.
Yep.
But then there's this one here, international admissions reform. The university must reform its recruitment, screening, and admissions of international students to prevent admitting students hostile to the American values and institutions inscribed in the U.S. Constitution, including students supportive of terrorism and anti-Semitism. So it's DEI and Israel shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jared, the last link you had up, it did say that it was both.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah, there was a little blurb that said it was about who they hire, and then the next paragraph says they cited the school's unwillingness to seriously address anti-Semitism and the harassment of Jewish students. So pro-Palestine and DEI. I don't know. I only brought it up because of the UN letter, and it was just yet another memo coming out of the White House. But yeah, I mean, if we cut to, sorry, I'm getting my funding mixed up. The Harvard was 2.2 billion. They could cut that funding. I'd be fine with that. And they could cut the funding to the UN, and I'd be fine with that. I mean, we're running a $2 trillion deficit. So, you found a drop in the bucket, but it's pretty easy. I'm usually fine with spending cuts. I actually got in an argument with a friend on Facebook about that. You
got an argument on Facebook, Kyle?
Yeah, I try to keep my stuff.
Say it ain't so.
I try to keep my politics like in closed groups, but this was like C-SPAN. C-SPAN always makes posts like, "Do you agree with Elon Musk's Doge cuts or something?" And I was like,
"Dude, you're in like C-SPAN groups, like arguing? Man, you're.
It wasn't the group; it was the C-SPAN page." And I said, "Yeah, for the most part, I agree with cuts." And I got attacked by a guy I know from hockey, and I was like, "Oh, geez."
Uh-oh.
So,
sounds like you're going to have to give him a face full of puck next game.
Nice little check him, maybe
throw him up against the boards for a sec.
Yeah.
Not a teammate, fortunately, but we do have some
mutuals.
Republicans and Democrats. We have a mixed locker room. So I try to be sensitive to that and never talk about politics in the locker room. And other people seem to always be bringing it up. And I'm just like, guys, we don't need this chemistry problem. Like, let's just not talk politics, please.
My baseball team's basically all like liberals and commies.
Oh, geez.
So I just, actually, I did get into some conversations, but I try not to be confrontational. I try to just be like, well, have you thought about it this way? Or
yeah, you're not there to argue with people. You're there to just have fun, play baseball or whatever, right? You don't want to ruin these relationships by arguing with politics.
Nah, I just usually don't bring it up at all.
That's what the internet's for, right? You go on the internet, and you freaking throw haymakers.
That's what Christmas dinner's for.
Yeah, Tim says, how about them Caps? Yeah, I've been following their run here, so I've had a heck of a season. Yeah, and with family too. My family is a lot of Democrats, and they like to throw jabs.
Same.
They like to throw jabs at Trump constantly, as if I'm going to be like, oh no, like, yeah. I don't.
My mom just had to make sure that I'm not a Trump supporter, because she saw the I think I talked about this, but she saw when Trump like thanked the libertarians for voting for him when he like let Ross out. And my mom called me. She's like, libertarians support Trump? And I was like, no, not really. This is more of just like a tactical strategery. She's like, okay. And she's like, you didn't vote for Trump, did you? And I'm like, no, I didn't vote for anybody. She's like, all right, well, as long as you didn't vote for Trump. I was like, well, my friend Alex,
my co-host,
he's on the Trump train.
Yeah. No, I mean, at least we got Ross out.
Yeah. But
it was a small.
Yeah, I just try not. I don't even care to argue with people on the internet, dude.
Yeah, I'm done with that, man. I can't believe you still do that, Kyle, or have the time to do it. I guess I don't know.
So I had a point in time where I got into an argument with someone. I got so upset, and I was just like, "This is fucking stupid, man! Like, I'm ruining my whole night arguing with some fucking like stranger on the internet. Like, what am I getting out of this? Like, am I actually convincing anybody or like changing the world? Like, am I bringing more people to liberty by just arguing with some dickhead on the PRL page? Like,
no. I don't.
If you enjoy it, then that's one thing. But I got to the point where I wasn't enjoying it anymore. It was just causing me like suffering. So I stopped.
Yeah, I mean, call people retarded and move on.
At one point, I would have said like, well, it would be nice to be in office or actually debate bills with progressives, and then try to convince them to vote, a certain way. But I've kind of moved on with my life. I've had kids and stuff, and any political aspirations I might have had are gone. Don't really have time for that at the moment. So, if you're interested in politics, I think it's fun to talk politics with people and and bounce things off of people.
I think like in principle, if we lived in a world where people were having like an open conversation about ideas, but it doesn't really manifest that way. It just ends up being like just one person like shouting their opinions at someone else, and there's no, and there's no any sort of compromise or any kind of like learning from each other or any of that shit.
Yeah,
it's just like more often than not. I'm sure there are definitely exceptions there, and certain communities like foster that. But
I would say like you said, it's maybe pointless to argue with some random person on Facebook, but in the real world, I think there's value to getting involved in politics and participating in elections and trying to get good people elected or running yourself. Like, I don't know. I think there's value in it. I also like to know what I'm talking about. Like when those conversations do come up with hockey people or whatever, I like to, be able to make some great points.
So you use like Facebook as like your training ground?
A little bit, I guess.
You're sparring.
I like to hear what other people what other people think. Even you guys. That's one reason I do the show here. I enjoy talking politics with people. I can't really do it with my wife, and certainly my 2-year-old daughter doesn't talk politics. So for me, it's an outlet. I like, and I think politics are important. It's all about the world around us. So I did want to ask, did you guys read the Sarwark article I guess he got published in MSNBC, I think? About bringing the Libertarian Party back to wherever it was.
Let's pull it up. I mean, first off,
before we leave this topic, just want to call out what Tim said here. One-on-one conversations matter so much more than posting on the internet and arguing with anonymous retards.
That's fact.
Couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah. You can have more nuance in conversations with individuals. So much is lost in on the internet.
I also just feel like, and I feel this myself when I'm like on the internet, I can be more of an asshole,
Yeah, exactly.
Like I feel like I have more license to be more of an asshole. Where it's like if I'm in person, like I'm not going to be that way because
I mean, at first I'm not going to call you a faggot or a retard. I might eventually, but at least I'm not going to lead with like you're a fucking retard.
Yeah, I mean,
eventually I might later on, but at least like right off the jump, I'm not going to like. All right.
Of the three of us here, Alex is definitely the most likely to be brutally honest with a person face to face. I feel like Jared
depends on how many beers deep he is, though.
Jared and I are definitely more reserved.
The other thing too, it depends on how the other individual is. If they're actually willing, you know what I mean? Like that's the other aspect too. Where if you're in a face-to-face conversation, you can read the room. You can be like, look, this person's not receptive. I'm not even going to waste my time. Or I'm just going to like, you know what? But in the internet, if you're in the comments,
like, dude, do you remember
lost?
Do you remember when we went to that bar down the street from me? And it was after the crab. It was after the crab night.
Oh, the crab feast was it?
Or the crab feast? No, it was after. It was after like the podcast 500th episode crab shit.
Oh yeah. We went back to your place, and then we walked down to your bar.
Yeah, and do you remember getting into like a conversation with the dude there? Yeah,
it was a long day.
Yeah, it was a long day. But I do remember that. Like we were both pretty shit faced. We went in there. There was like some band playing. Yeah, and I think you had like some kind of shirt on. And he liked the shirt or something. Like he disagreed. Like, anyways, you guys started talking, and like he disagreed with you on some points, but it felt like a productive conversation where we weren't necessarily seeing completely eye to eye, but like an example of someone being like open to listening and you being open, and like, you know what I mean? But you definitely don't get that on the internet very often.
No.
So.
Because you see the humanity in someone across from you. It's like you don't want to.
Right.
Like, all right. At the end of the day,
you have empathy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just like a name on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I shared the link to the Nick Sarwark article article. It's an opinion. I guess it's an opinion article.
Is this video relevant or is this some other shit?
Trump's tariff fiasco is an opportunity to reboot the Libertarian Party. So this is the opinion, and it's on MSNBC, not the actual channel, but on their website. So a total of 5 people read this. By Nicholas Sarwark, former chair of the Libertarian National Committee. Okay, so this just proves he's a Fed. Okay, this just proves he has some the fact that MSNBC, but I guess
so. Corrupt Republican president abuses executive power, political extortion, betrayal of economics. Oh, so he's just saying he's making a little thing about Nixon.
Mm.
So you think he's talking about Trump, but he's talking about Nixon. So where's this going? Did you read this?
I didn't, but listen to this. It said it took 5 years, but by the 2022 Libertarian National Convention, the Mises Caucus was able to install an anti-vaccine activist and former paralegal Angela McArdle as Libertarian National Committee chair and remove the anti-bigotry and pro-choice planks from the Libertarian platform. So he's basically saying, the Libertarian Party went far right, and he wants to bring it back to wherever it was previously.
Dude, they really want to bring it back to irrelevancy, and I think it's trending that way because I think, like, honestly, I think me personally, I wouldn't say the Mises Caucus is dead, but it's kind of like a rudderless ship right now. I'm kind of to the point in my life where it's like I don't want to waste my time with some of these fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
In Maryland, we have a really good group of people that are based, and we do a really good job at gatekeeping to not allow goofies to kind of like, you know what I mean? But that's not the case from a national level, and I see the pendulum swinging back to being irrelevant. And it's unfortunate because you see people like him and many others that have been on the outs for a long time are trying to get back in, and you see it in the current chair right now, where he is upset about. I mean, maybe he doesn't see eye to eye with the Colorado chair, Hannah Goodman. She's awesome. She's fucking based. I met her in person at the convention in DC recently. I think she follows the podcast, but just like a personal beef. And like she said something like she said faggot or something, like responding to someone constantly getting in her DMs. And then it was escalated to the point where the chairman of the LP has to address like, this is unprofessional for a chair of Colorado. And it's like, dude, you didn't even have to shed light on this. Now you shed light on this. And now it's like all these goofies coming out and it's just like a whole Twitter shitstorm. So all these people are like, oh, we need to get back to being a professional party and remove these bigots and blah, blah. You see all this crap. And it's like, I'm tired of it.
It wasn't professional in 2018. I mean,
it was never professional.
I went to the 2018 convention and they were like, they're waving dildos around at the on the convention floor. I was like, what the heck is this?
In DC.
Or what about the naked guy on stage?
Yeah, how about that fucking idiot? And then all these
James Weeks.
Yeah, and then not only that, it infuriated me in just the most recent one in DC. The fact that Scott Horton was speaking during he wasn't scheduled to speak, but I think it was when they were they were tallying votes at some point. So it was a downtime, and they were like, "Hey, Scott, you want to come up here and just riff about Ukraine and Israel, and maybe talk some sense into these lowberts about foreign policy and whatnot." Meanwhile, half to maybe 3/4 are totally engaged, trying to be look, Scott is speaking, he's one of the greatest minds when it comes to foreign policy and everything. Meanwhile, a bunch of the Chase Oliver faggots are walking all around doing a gay conga line with their stupid fucking signs, being totally, now granted, we were at recess, but it's Scott Horton speaking. Shut the fuck up. Be respectful for other people. They're doing this gay ass conga line through the whole congregation, and it's meanwhile, this is on 5 people at home are watching this on C-SPAN.
Right.
But it's have some fucking respect. And it just irked the shit out of me. It irked me. And it's this is why you continue to get 3%. And the fact that this faggot Sarwark, who's a Fed, who's everybody can have their issues with Angela. Okay. They could, whatever. But the fact that he leads with first off, you're on MSNBC, and then you're oh, anti-vax. Dude, it's 2025, and you're a quote the former chair of the Libertarian Party, and you're going with the ad hominem attack of anti-vaxxer. It's 2025, dude.
Alex, no, he's virtue signaling.
Exactly,
and it's everything in that article is sort of I'm one of you leftists, and I'm in.
He's
the
trying to
good team.
recruit. Yeah, he's trying to recruit MSNBC readers and viewers to the Libertarian Party.
It's pathetic. They are never going to be. So let's just like lower our. Let's just like disregard principles. Let's disregard like. And let's lower our standards to allow a bunch of leftists back in the tent, a bunch of Marxist, commie leftists. And that's why I love what Libertarian Party New Hampshire does, is they make it intolerable for them, because they're actually trying to actually do things. They're actually doing things. And you have to make it inhospitable for these leftists to infiltrate, because we have nothing in common with them. It's after COVID, it's like, no, you don't.
Well, I would say we do have the Palestine stuff in common.
A little bit.
The true lefties.
But are they going to
not the MSNBC lefties, though?
No.
Like, you're going to have to reach out to, like, Jacobin and, like...
Maybe some of them. There might be some hope. I mean, look at, like, Jimmy Dore. He's come full circle. But
Jimmy Dore,
I don't know, man. I just think,
Rogan's technically a lefty. I mean...
Yeah, I agree. Like, first shot. No, we cannot go back to that. We cannot allow, like, literally, like, anarcho-communists to, like, have a seat at the table when the whole, like, the number one principle, not number one, but one of the main principles of libertarianism is property rights. We can't allow people that have no respect for property to have a fucking seat at the table. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, it is. No, it's fascinating to watch the LP and watch the struggle of an organization that you can't just, like, kill people or whatever. Or like,
that's why I think the nap is fake and gay.
Or fight. You can't physically fight them, but it's like,
well, you can remove them from a microphone.
The struggle of an organization to sort of maintain an ideological purity or an ideological standard. I would say a standard. You're okay to represent us, or you're okay to be in the party, and you guys are not okay. And how do you close that door when they're just people, and it's like, if they want to be there, it's kind of hard at times to get them to leave,
And
if they bought their ticket to the event or whatever, it's like, then they're going to be there.
That's what I mean. He's a Fed. Sarwark's a Fed. At some level, he's an infiltrator. He's a disruptor. I don't know that he's a Fed, but he's a low level. He's just.
But I mean, isn't that just more to the point you make a lot, which is like, you got to focus just on the local level, because it's it's a lot harder to, like, if you build up like the Maryland LP, like, you guys have a bunch of, like, the Mises Caucus, those sorts of people in there, and there, of course, there's still some, like, some goofies in there, but it's a lot harder to block out goofies on that level as opposed to, like, on the national level, where it's like you're dealing with, like, thousands of people.
But the other aspect is, like, the national level, depending on, like, that's the thing. It's like, all right, I don't really give a shit. Like, okay, Chase Oliver or whatever, go the fuck away, whatever. You're a drop in the bucket. Have your vainglory little campaign, whatever. You're a very failed candidate, but at least, like, executive board, and at least they're going to control the messaging for, like, 2 to 4 years or 2 years, like, control, like, the party apparatus from above, so that we're not embarrassing at the, like, so if you're trying to recruit at the local level, it's not like, is this the Libertarian Party that put out, like, it's not enough to be like active or whatever, the Joe Jordan anti-racist, we must be actively, like, anti, like, shit like that. Like, shut up. Like, that's
interesting. What's embarrassing to you is not embarrassing to them, and vice versa. To the left-leaning people, and I would say progressives. That's how I think of Nick Sarwark. I think of him as not a Fed, but just as a progressive. I think that's his overall worldview, is that he leans left and see things through a left-wing viewpoint, and that's why he's taking those positions on MSNBC. He fits right in.
10 people read that article.
I mean, regardless, MSNBC is a major news outlet. So, I mean,
are they though? Dude, it is insane. It is pretty. I don't know what I was watching. It was trying to think who it was. I talked about it a couple podcasts ago, Kyle, and it might have been forget who it was, but they were just rattling off. It was Microaggressions podcast, and he was on with Buck Johnson, and he was just talking about the ratings of MSNBC, and it's insane. Like there's basically like 20 to 30 more cable channels that get higher ratings than MSNBC's like primetime shows, and that's if you have cable. How many people have cable? I mean, we were talking about before we came live. Like, have you cut the cord? I mean,
I have not, but
not yet. Jared, you've cut the cord.
I don't want to derail you from the point you're making about MSNBC.
Oh no, but I mean, like,
yeah,
like, I mean, I think basically the podcast that Buck was, it was a couple of weeks ago, and the guy was just rattling off. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he does the Microaggressions podcast. But he just read off like all the statistics of these, which you think like, oh my gosh, there's mainstream media, and that's the thing. It's big pharma money that's propping them up, and that's it. And that hopefully RFK, and he's doing some things lately, but you get the money out of like basically the big pharma money out of the mainstream media, they're dead. They're done for. And see like these supposed high profile shows on MSNBC, and it's like there's 20, 30 other cable channels getting higher ratings than they're like Rachel Maddow, that lesbian boy or whatever. I don't know. Or who else? That they fired that one lady, Joy Reid, who's like complete batshit crazy. I mean, nobody listens to these people anymore. So yeah, way to go, Nick.
It's just on at the gym. It's on at the airport. It's on at the doctor's office. Like,
dude, I didn't realize like CNN up until 2022, they had a contract with like airports. It was like through the FAA. Like all this stuff came out of like the USAID money and all that. That's the only reason why they have like quote unquote ratings. Is they're like they have a contract with airports. It's like you will have CNN on all the airports, and somehow like just.
And how do they count that in the Nielsen ratings? It's like every eyeball that walks in that place.
Right.
Counts.
Like it's so fraudulent. Like I just went and got groped by the TSA. No, I'm not fucking watching CNN, but apparently they count anybody going through the airport. That's what they do. They counted. This is what like on that podcast, just talking about how the mainstream media is dead, is the fact that's like now all this is coming out. It's like it's all fraudulent. It's all fake. Nobody's
and all these advertisers were just paying for nothing.
It's a big farmer.
That's really what it's about. It's about selling ads, and so these advertisers should be suing. Like
that's crazy.
The news sources. I mean, I don't know. Things have shifted with social media, but I still think they disseminate a lot of these articles and headlines that make their way through Twitter and social media and everything else. And certainly, the Democrats or the left certainly still has a strong presence in media. They still get their messages out to
Have you seen Have you guys ever watched the movie The Network?
No.
Oh, is that
it's like the classic movie with the classic quote of like, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore." Dude, I finally watched that movie. It's really fucking good. It's basically like a satire on media, on the news, and it was made in like in the 1970s.
Yeah.
And it's still true today. It just talks about how like. It just hints at and describes just how everything's about ratings and basically the story is like this guy who was like a top newscaster or I guess a newscaster or like talk show host or something like that. He kind of falls out of favor, so his ratings go down or whatever, and so his bosses are kind of pushing him out, and so he like snaps and he goes on TV and starts like telling the truth, right? He's just telling about how everything's rigged and how like
well here I got let me see, let me bring it up here. You want to watch it? I mean, I don't think this will
pull it up.
Yeah, we might get pulled, but whatever, fuck it.
You think? Who cares? Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, this one's good.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
And then the ultimate cynicism of the whole thing is they're basically just using this guy to get better ratings.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? It's like people aren't really gonna rising up and doing anything. It's just okay, yeah, we're just gonna keep putting this guy on because he's getting good ratings. There is a little bit of a kind of a twist, not a twist, but
no spoiler.
I won't spoil it. Yeah. So, but basically, yeah, it's real doomer shit.
You watch the rest of this or not?
No,
I mean that's pretty much it.
Too long.
4 minutes. But yeah, I want you start with anger, right? We kind of get into politics and we find out about something like the Federal Reserve, or the bombings of civilians or war or 9/11, whatever it might be. We start off with anger, but you can't stay in a perpetual state of anger 24/7. And eventually you kind of settle into okay, what are the practical reality? What can we do here? What kind of steps can we take? And a lot of it's boring stuff. A lot of political action is somebody's got to be the treasurer. Somebody's got to take notes at meetings. You have to follow Robert's Rules of Order. It's stuff that you freaking hate. So you started off with this passion and then trying to channel that into something constructive. You have to I don't know.
And then you go to Maryland. You go to the Maryland GOP Lincoln Reagan dinner.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. My thing with the LP that I was thinking about, and you talk about the leftist infiltration. Let's say it went far left. I mean that would pull votes from Democrats, and then the Republicans would have an easier time winning. And that was kind of a big problem for me with the LP is thinking about the math. Let's say the LP put up a great candidate against Trump and Kamala, and that candidate got 10% of the vote, and that 10% came out of Trump's votes. So Kamala gets 50. Trump gets 40,
but I mean, how do you know?
And
but
the
that's
LP gets 10.
I feel like that is the fallacy, though, is that it's always the claim that the libertarians are pulling vote or third parties are pulling votes from this party instead of this party. I guess it would have to do with what the message was, but I mean, if it's a true libertarian message, I mean, it should appeal to people that are libertarian leaning on both sides, right?
It doesn't.
I mean,
it's gonna pull the right because you're gonna be free markets, private property. I just don't. Yeah, you should.
Yeah, but I mean, Democrats. I mean, just regular Democrats aren't anti-private property. I mean, you know what I mean? Not the real ones you see on the street. I mean, yeah, there's commies out there, but I think you can appeal to both sides. But yeah, I mean, you might be right. It might be just the way that the wind blows right now. You're pulling more from the Trump side, but
let's say Ron Paul was your candidate for the LP against Trump and Kamala. I mean, who is he going to pull more votes from, Trump or Kamala? He's probably going to pull more votes from the right. You're splitting the votes on the right, and that was my thing. Is this? It works out, but
he's also a former Republican, so there's that kind of muddy.
Maybe he's not a great example, but I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't think you're going to get that much from the left. You're going to split the votes on the right, and that's the problem with it.
But I mean, you're also just assuming that we should prefer Trump to Kamala. I mean,
I thought we should. I mean, I thought I mean, yeah.
From the outset, I thought we should, but now I'm I don't know, dude.
I regret my decision.
He's been pretty bad.
I should.
Yeah, we still have all the DEI shit, but to me, I'm more worried about my 401k and
the tariffs. The tariffs are really bad. I mean, that's not free market at all. He's attacked Massey. I don't know if he's attacked the rand yet, but probably, certainly
kind
attacked
of.
Massey.
The grandstanding with like tariffs.
Yeah, he's attacked Rand. He attacked Massey. He attacked Rand. Basically,
so sort of the libertarian conscience of the Republican Party.
Yeah,
he's like, we got to primary these assholes, right?
Right, right. So like,
and they always win. Like it's ineffective. It's he tried to primary Massey the last time when he called quorum during COVID when they were trying to just pass a multi-trillion-dollar budget with like nobody in, and Massey drove all the way from Kentucky. And I remember at that Ron Paul Institute dinner, he was just. Massey gave a great speech. He was like, yeah, he's just like, once I got there and there was enough congressmen and women there to basically like call quorum and kind of like forcing debate and a vote where they were just going to like auto vote via like a fucking Zoom call. Like, yeah, let's just COVID money, trillions of dollars, just fucking send it, And Massey said, Trump called him. He's like, I'm going to primary you, okay? I'm going to primary you so bad. Your time is done. I mean, that was 2020, and yet he, like, survived. And it was so funny because during his speech, he said, yeah, I got a call. And it was, like, but he was like, I was so busy calling other people. And then it kept calling. And then it went through, like, I guess the Capitol, like, switchboard, and they were like, you have an urgent call. This is like the president on the phone. And he was like, Thomas Massey, okay, I'm gonna primary you so bad, okay. And
so what, did he throw his weight behind the guy that was the running against Massey the next time around?
Yeah, and he was a fucking ape. Again, noticing every person they run against Massey, he takes zero money from AIPAC. He called it out on Tucker, who I think is controlled opposition. I think he's a Freemason. He's part of it. Did you see the Dude, did you see the interview with Conor McGregor? It was in a Freemason temple, the second oldest Freemason temple.
That's cool.
In Ireland, and it's like the whole checkered floor in front of a whole organ, and there's like the Freemason, New World Order, all that shit. But I digress. But it was like right after Massey was interviewed by Tucker, and Thomas Massey was talking about like, yeah, every member in Congress pretty much has one, two, multiple AIPAC handlers.
Mm-hmm.
And when he called that out, his wife, a week later, just mysteriously, I mean, I don't know if it was mysterious, but it didn't seem like his wife was, it seemed very sudden. That his wife passed. And he was kind of like a little bit off the radar about that. So
wait, whose wife passed?
Thomas Massey. Like literally a week
Massey's,
after he was on Tucker and said like, again, as the Noticing Caucus chairman, just noticing things.
You think his wife was murdered by AIPAC?
Mossad? Yes,
Mossad?
probably. Because he called him out. He said,
well, why wouldn't they just murder him?
I don't know. It is a theory, though. It's definitely a theory.
They
that
could have,
happened.
and they might. I'm not saying they haven't, but I'm just saying, like, it's probably like, hey, you kind of vote the correct way most of the time, but when it comes to this, shut the fuck up.
It's a possibility. It might be a coincidence, but it is a possibility. I've heard that before, Alex.
But I think it's interesting that Trump's not as popular as you would think, because you would think that him throwing his weight behind somebody in that election would have cost it for Massey, but Massey's clearly very popular.
I guess he's because he keeps it local. He's based. I think his constituents, like, they know, like, this guy is out. He's built a track record.
What is it? It's Indiana, right?
Kentucky.
Or Kentucky.
So both him and Rand are in Kentucky. So Kentucky must be based. I mean,
it must be. Yeah,
they must be like.
Never been to. Well, I think I've driven through.
That's about it. I've never spent.
Massey's the man.
Like, I have to hang out in Knoxville or something.
I sent him $50 after the last thing. It was the
Knoxville, budget. That's fucking Tennessee.
It was the budget proposal, right? It was the Trump's budget proposal was
Louisville,
or it was maintaining the deficits from Biden, right? And Massey was the lone Republican no vote, and that's when Trump attacked him most recently.
Yeah. It was so ridiculous.
And he was like, he's just a grandstander or whatever. It's like, dude, you just, despite all these Doge cuts, you just proposed a budget that's going to raise the debt ceiling and either maintain or increase the Biden deficits.
Yeah,
so
Kyle,
you're not cutting spending.
When are we getting these Doge checks? We've talked about it on a couple episodes. Like, all the savings of Doge. Remember, they were floating that rumor within the first couple of weeks of Doge that we, the taxpayer, might get like a refund check. You know, like kind
they're
of
in
like
a $36 trillion hole. I don't see how they have any money to hand out to anybody at all. Like,
right.
you know what I mean?
And the other thing, yeah. So apparently,
we're up to almost $1,000 per taxpayer.
160.
Wow.
There we go. 160
merch.
billion.
Well, you can get Doge merch, dude.
Wow.
What a
Doge.
weird
Wow.
state.
This is like an official website.
This is ridiculous.
I mean,
Doge
it's not an
the
official
one spot.
government website, but I think Musk. I think Musk set this up.
Merchandising.
I think didn't Musk say he's going to step back from Doge because
Doge stimmies.
Tesla's lost 70% of their sales or something like that.
Yeah, because all these commies are like.
Well, yeah, he's
running.
pushing back on these like retarded tariffs because now it's actually affect. Oh, he's like, oh wait, I get some of my shit from China. Whoops. Whoops.
Yeah, the tariff thing has been.
I don't make all my cars in America.
Terrible for the markets. It's been good for gold. Gold's doing great. Not talked about much on financial media, but
Yeah, it's up to like 3.3 last I checked or something.
Yeah, let's check the ticker. What's Bitcoin? What's silver up to? What do we got
Oh,
here?
Bitcoin. Oh, that's another topic I wanted to hit on. Well, let's see. Here's gold.
it was 3.4 last I saw.
33.67.
Oh. I mean, somebody that was hoping to buy more.
Dude, the
it
fact
was
that-
like 1,800, and I was like, I didn't get the forms in to buy more, and now I'm like, you dumb idiot.
Dude, how insane was it? Like literally, Kyle, like probably about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like it was only like a couple $100 for an ounce of gold, and now it's like,
Dude, Bitcoin's been skyrocketing.
oh wow,
Look at that.
94.
And even as now the stock market's like bounced back a bit, but even when the stock market like went down the other day like 3% or whatever, Bitcoin went up. So I think people are starting to realize like Bitcoin isn't stocks. Like these aren't the same things. One is, representing, all the companies in the US, and the other one is its own currency investment vehicle.
It's like a commodity, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, a intangible commodity.
But it's like Bitcoin isn't affected by tariffs, Like there's no tariffs on Bitcoin, right? I mean, unless you're buying your Bitcoin from China somehow.
Yeah, it's not a tangible thing that it doesn't come in a port or something like that,
Exactly.
I mean,
So
it's a currency.
I think people, because initially when this stuff happened, everything dropped. Bitcoin dropped. But, maybe people are figuring out like this is not the same thing. This is.
Scott says
get some
silver
silver.
is a deal relative to gold. I think silver's at like 32 last I checked.
I feel like people always say that, but silver's just always at 32.
I know it is.
I mean, it was like 24.
33.92.
33. I'm
I
not
just think that market is so
I mean, here's
suppressed.
the 5 year.
I was
Here's
a
the
big
5 year.
silver-
Here's the 5 year.
Yeah, almost 34. Wow. I was a big silver guy in the beginning, but I don't know. I gravitated more toward gold now. I just like it better as a monetary metal. Silver's has a much more of an industrial component. And
I just remember like all the what's the dude's name, like Mike Maloney and those guys being like, oh yeah, silver's being like artificially depressed, like it's undervalued by like 1,000x. Like as soon as like whatever happens, like it's gonna just explode in price, and of course none of that shit ever happened.
Right. I'm still waiting.
I'm still waiting, dude.
I'm still
I
waiting.
mean, I have a bunch of silver,
Yeah.
ditto,
but
man.
but allegedly,
save that for the Fed chat.
yeah, allegedly.
Fed level, allegedly.
Before I lost it in that
Boating
boating
accident.
accident
That was terrible.
in the reservoir.
Yeah, we were out on the Chesapeake with all our very sad.
3,400 now.
Out in the harbor.
Yeah, we're out there in the Patapsco. Out
Yeah.
there.
All right, I gotta get going, guys.
All right, man. Have a good
All right,
hockey,
man. Yeah, I
hockey
think we
ball.
could just wrap it up here because
Yeah, we got some docs.
Yep.
Jar and I'll take it over to the overflow room.
Yep. Well, yeah. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. Enjoy your game. Hope you win.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was great.
Yeah, man. Always fun
Absolutely.
catching up.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. yeah, as we mentioned, we have an After Hours podcast that we host on the on Patreon. If you go to our Patreon, sign up, Punk Rock Libertarians, patreon.com/Punk Rock Libertarians. You can get access to that After Hours podcast for as little as $3 a month. We also have t-shirts at libertariancountry.com. If you use code PRL, you can save 10% on that. And until next time, live free
or die.